Hello, my name is Jonathan Swift, the Content Director of Infopro Digital's Insurance Division. I'd like to welcome you to the latest Insurance COVID cast, brought to you by Insurance Age and Insurance Post. And today we'll be looking at a subject that has already drawn a significant amount of commentary, namely the impact of COVID-19 on combating insurance fraud. Now I'm delighted to say, joining me for today's discussion, I have James Burge, the UK Fraud Manager at Allianz, Scott Clayton, Head of Claims Fraud at Zurich, Steve Crystal, the Head of Financial Crime at Sedgwick, Fleur Lewis, Head of Fraud at Go Compare, Donna Scully, a Director of Carpenters, and finally Damian Ward, a Partner and Head of the Fraud Team at Keoghs. Welcome, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
So I'll come to you first of all on this, Damian, if that's okay. Can I just ask, how has the collaboration around the detection, prevention and prosecution of insurance fraud changed during lockdown?
Well, in terms of what's changed, I think what's changed is probably more around the level of engagement, which to my mind has gone up and up and up. There was already a fantastic level of engagement in the industry prior to this, but of course the fact that everyone's now remote working means that there's a sort of an immediacy about getting things done. I think everyone's looking at the numbers, everyone's looking at the behaviours, everyone's talking to each other in a way which is even more impressive, I think, than it was previously. So for me, that would be the real headline, that actually I think that people have come together, the level of interaction, the context and depth of the conversations, and the forward sort of looking in terms of horizon scanning, I think has gone up to a level that it was, it was already high. It's gone up even further. That would be my take on it.
Okay, James.
Yeah, I completely agree with those comments, David, as well. It's very much we talked about collaboration over a number of years now, and I think we're certainly getting better and better as an industry. And I think times like this, certainly for us at the moment, is giving us, I suppose, that greater emphasis on true collaboration. What does it really mean for us as a business, and what does it mean for us as an industry? Of course, supporting our customers as we go through this transition piece. I suppose something that we will add. It's not just within Allianz around UK. So we've done a lot of work with other OEs, other Allianz operational entities around the globe as well. So clearly some are more advanced than others, and so really, as like what Damien was saying, collaboration has certainly increased, and certainly increased across the globe for us as well. Just talking about things that have happened, things that are more advanced in other OEs than perhaps us, and how can we learn from that?
Donna?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is an area where collaboration is always very good, and we've got some very good tools available to us. And it was really pleasing to see very early on that those tools were being used. You know, the IFB and the General Insurance Fraud Council already had virtual meetings very early on. Tactical workshops were set up, instructions going out on what to do and how we could work together and share information. So I agree with the other guys. I think that, I wasn't surprised to see how well this was dealt with. And I think we'll keep our eye on it and, work together and try and share information and data and things that we see emerging, things that, we're sort of looking at and things we haven't seen before that have a COVID tag on them. So, yeah, I think it's really good so far. I'm very pleased.
Steve?
Yeah, I'd say in the very early days of lockdown, I think it was such a shock to, well, certainly my system and perhaps others as well, that I just felt initially slow to get to grips, but that was a week or 10 days, and after that, I think everybody recognised that we're in a world where communication is vital, sharing information really important to everyone. And as Don just mentioned, there was an IFB gathering. From my part, I took part in a CILA anti-fraud group conference on the matter, and there have been several very good online platforms through LinkedIn that have been publicised where everybody's been sort of looking to not just share thoughts around these subjects, but improve knowledge, improve awareness, and start to get on the front foot about
what might be coming around the corner. So yeah, it's slow start, but really positive since.
Fleur, do you paint an equally positive picture?
I do, I must say I do. Yeah, I think having worked in obviously different sectors within the fraud industry, and I do think that the insurance industry is quite advanced in terms of collaboration. I think when I first joined the industry 3 years ago, a lot of information I was received was, oh, the collaboration could be better, things could be improved, and we hear it time and time again, but I do think the industry's responded really, really well to this pandemic. I think people, I think people have been more available as well. So whilst they used to travel, you know, across the city for meetings and things, with them being at home and that travelling, their diaries have been catered to increase those meetings. So I think we've been able to reach out to other people in the industry to share that intelligence more or less, you know, as and when it's happening.
Okay. Scott?
Yeah, I think if you look at the three strands, you know, detection, prevention and prosecution, I think we've pretty much maintained detection and prevention. It's the prosecution angle that has naturally been affected because the police aren't functioning in the same way and lockdown measures have affected that. But, you know, rest assured, we are stockpiling cases to make sure that we've got them playing out over the time. The other thing is, I think it's given us time to put our foot in the ball. You know, it's get that we have seen less cars on the road. We've seen obviously businesses impacted significantly. So we've had time to think. We've had time to look at our own operating models and try and predict what this uncertain future looks like. So there's been a lot of crystal ball time, and you know, there's a lot of people having thoughts in terms of what the future might look like from a fraud point of view. But you know, I think unanimously across everybody, including internationally, this feels like the quiet before the storm from a fraud point of view.
Yeah.
So building on that, Scott, are you monitoring, or do you have concerns relating to CMC marketing campaigns, asking people if they've had a COVID-19 or coronavirus related loss? And if so, what trends are you seeing, and what types of potentially new fraudulent claims could emerge after things get a bit calmer?
Yeah, it's too early to notice any trends. I mean, like everybody, you notice that there's all of a sudden significant amount of claims management companies, you know, registering companies with COVID-19 in their names. But the reality is, I think they're still trying to find their feet in terms of what type of claims that they can directly attribute to COVID and any liabilities that might be coming from them. And, you know, we've got to find a balance here between trying to be open and helpful and not giving information away that ultimately claims management companies could use to their advantage. So I think we're in a waiting game at the moment. It's just too early to see any trends and patterns. That's not just fraud, that's just the type of claims directly relating to COVID that are going to come further down the line. So yeah, we're playing the waiting game.
Steve?
Yes, I think I would agree with that. I'm seeing positioning for the future is probably how I describe it, Jonathan. Like Scott, if you know, just a simple Google search will show you, I had a look at it a little earlier, around a dozen names registered fairly recently that suggest people are doing exactly that, positioning themselves for the future, setting up newly formed companies with that sort of activity in their name. I think people will see opportunity, inclination, incentive, all of those things. And it's around the corner. I think it's after the event. We're going to see it down the line after the event for the most part. I've seen nothing so far in terms of CMC or similar representing anybody in any sort of COVID related claim. I think we're looking at mid to long term for those.
Yeah. Fleur?
I mean, we're at the other end of the cycle for this one in terms of we're at the application stage, but we have started working with the insurers directly to understand any newly emerged patterns that are happening on the claim side, and then taking them back to understand where we can support and monitor at application stage. And to date, there's been a couple that have been successful, and we've managed to nip in the bud quite early. But I think I don't think that, you know, anything started in this way. I think there's some big things to come.
Yeah. Donna?
I've seen a little bit, to be fair, and I think I agree that that's going to grow. I think the worry is that, you know, PPI is gone. So, you know, there's another avenue needed, and I'm sure they're looking now. I think that economic desperation drives fraud, unfortunately. So, I mean, where I'm sort of seeing it is you're seeing on some lawyers' websites, COVID sections looking for work or looking for people who want to make claim against insurance companies. I've seen it in the business interruption space. I've seen barristers and some lawyers being very aggressive in their advertising for people who want to make BI claims. And, you know, whilst we want those claims to be sorted out, and there's a big issue going on there, I think people just wanting to make money out of it and pushing people to make claims is not something that we want to see. Those claims are quite lucrative in the sense that they're no win, no fee, and they've got, you know, third-party litigation backing them up. So they're kind of no risk. So they're attractive and quite good for gaming. So, yeah, I think there is a bit of stuff. I think we are seeing some employers' liability stuff already around, has your employer made you go back to work, and did you get COVID? Did you have sufficient PPE? Or things like, have you had an accident at work, at home? So, you know, I think we kind of know bits of what's coming, and I think we need to be alert at some other stuff. But I think there's some aggressive social media advertising going on. So I think it's started, unfortunately.
Yeah. Damian?
Yeah, I think that's right. I've not seen any direct evidence of it myself, other than just the hints of employer liability claims where in relation to people who've contracted symptoms whilst in a workplace which wasn't which was sort of in the run up to lockdown, as it were, where the argument would be that the employer was plainly on notice as to what their operating system might do, and so I think that there is some scope in that space. Most definitely, and I think that will be an area which we will see a lot of accident management company activity in. But I agree with Scott. I think to the extent that we are just at the beginning of this and the accident management companies are starting to just find their feet, I think that various things, as always, will be tried and tested, and the most lucrative and easy routes to market will then be exploited as things progress. Of course, the real driver of this is the economic bite, and as Donna says, I think that it is for many people at least a little bit early in that cycle in terms of the furlough schemes are still operating. But when, if and when, and probably when rather than if, we start to see unemployment really rise in a more permanent way, I think that the attraction to make these kind of claims and the traction that the accident management companies will get in the employer's liability space, in the claims potentially against supermarkets, claims against employers, as I've said, motor claims as well, of course. I think that we will start to see a lot more activity, and this is, I think, as already been said, the calm really before the storm.
Yeah. Finally, I come to you, James.
Yeah, no, I absolutely 100% agree with what everyone is saying there. I suppose for me, what I would also, I suppose, overlay with that is the risk of ghost broking along the side of CMCs. And I say that when it comes to kind of the too cheap to be true type policies that are going to be sold on the back of this, albeit travel or BI policies, or even impersonation of brokers that can sort of reinstate cover and things like that. So absolutely what you guys have just said, but I think there's another angle as well in terms of some of the ghost broking that we need to be on top of, as well as just CMCs.
So James, given what has been said previously in the less than optimistic economic forecasts for the coming years and the correlation between economic downturn and insurance fraud, what are you doing as a business to prepare for any potential spikes?
Really good question. I think for me, first and foremost, is that we do take quite a pragmatic approach when it comes to managing fraud, and that we must look that the majority of our customers are genuine. So for me, it's all around protecting our genuine customers, because they're the ones that maybe have genuinely suffered loss in that respect. I suppose it's next. It's just the big word data, and the amount of data that we can now harness, and it's using our in-house data scientists, for instance, to actually home in on, okay, what is it we're really looking for, and what can those scientists look for? What can the systems and the tools that we that we have to spot those kind of the few cases that are a little bit suspect, and of course whilst treating the genuine customer the best we can.
Fleur.
Similar to James, to be honest, there we've started to look at data science models and how we can sort of predict and spot early on in the application stage, work closer with the industry in terms of the patterns they see in the other end that we don't see in terms of the data. But for me, more importantly, I think there's going to be a lot more opportunistic fraud going on out there. I think the financial hardship is going to really ring through into more first-party fraud as well as third-party fraud. And we've even seen sort of a lot of corporate fraud on the rise as a result of the furlough schemes and things. So I think it's going to be an interesting time over the next few months.
Okay, Damian.
I agree. I think that we are very likely to be able to spot with reasonable certainty those claims from first-party claims for in respect of business interruption and so on and so forth, which lack merit, which are fraudulent. I think we'll spot those, and I think we'll deal with them. And they will be large in number, but they will pale into insignificance in respect of the sort of volume of claims that the industry sees in what I would call BAU. And I agree with Fleur that I think actually the probable risk and the real risk here is that whilst dealing with the directly related sort of COVID type claims in respect of business interruption and income protection and all of that, which obviously we need to do, within the motor space and in the volume space, that actually there will be a lot of unmeritorious claims sat there which are being pushed through. Accident management company activity is definitely on the increase. Trawling what I would call the back catalogue, so the claims farming of existing claims, that's already very active. The accident management companies have made good use, if that's the right phrase, of the time to contact and recontact claimants who are working from home, who might be furloughed, who might have an economic interest in pursuing a claim which they didn't previously have. And all of those ingredients, I think, are going to create a huge spike in the BAU space during the next few months and probably into the beginning part of next year as claimant solicitors and accident management companies get back to work. So I think that combined with the economic downturn means that the opportunistic claim from a genuine minor event, whether that's a motor or a slip trip in a supermarket or whatever it might be, I think that is going to see a real explosion in terms of volume and frequency. And I think that we mustn't take our eye off that ball whilst we're dealing with the other more nuanced COVID-related claims that we're bound to see.
Yeah. Scott.
Yeah, I think, we know that recessions drive different behaviour, desperate times cause for desperate decisions. And I think what this has done more so than anything is challenge business liquidity. Businesses and individuals who are maybe asset rich and cash poor trying to survive in an environment that's been more challenging than anything we can remember. So, with that, you look into an area like property, for example, and, I think that this is going to, where decisions are made to have a go in the property space, given that it's contracts of insurance, people who are submitting claims for loss of single items where they're looking for a quick cash payout. You've got businesses that have been running seasonal stock that they haven't been able to sell. They've got, as Damian said, the furlough scheme coming to an end. That's going to put pressure on finding cash for them to pay their people. So we're going to be looking at, when you consider, businesses, there'll be some businesses that are desperate to survive. And there'll be some businesses that have been hit so hard that they'll actually use an insurance claim potentially to see the end of the business. And that's what we need to be looking out for. There's types of businesses, occupations prior to COVID would never have rung a red flag with us. But because of the actual sector that they're operating in, well now. And that's how we have to kind of adapt on what we're looking at. So, large fires obviously will be ones that we look at, especially those that are involving stock, even escape of water and thefts, etc. It brings into the fore different cases than we would do in the past. So that, looks at it from a first party point of view, and all the other third party angles. The liability space will definitely be on our guard in terms of looking at what COVID's actually changed in the environment. And it is a different world. It's going to be a different world. Even businesses with, challenging occupancy rates as a result of more people working from home. this is having an effect in so many different areas. And, this is where I go back to the crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. All we can try and do is prepare ourselves and prepare our staff for what we think might happen. But no one's got all the answers.
Donna?
Yeah, I mean, from a business point of view, going back to the really basic bit is that I think Scott's just touched on it, is home working. I think we've got home working now. Some people have it exclusively and completely. So we need to make sure that people working at home are still doing fraud checks, and that we're able to do our fraud checks at home, and that we even kind of up the ante there to make sure that they're even stronger and tighter, and that we're giving training, that we're looking at trends. People are not distracted at home, so that they're not going to let fraud through by mistake, or they're not as alert as they are in the office. I think it's about using the tools we already have, IFB, IFED, GIFC, all those kind of, cheat lines. So make sure that we share information together and tell each other what we're seeing. I think we know from the past that if we let something drag on or something emerges and we don't deal with it quickly, like travel claims, the way we dealt with that was very good in the end. But I think it's just making sure that we share information, grab at it, get at it, make sure we kind of stamp it out as quick as we can across as an industry. So, it's an industry-wide sort of thing that we're doing. So I think all of those things that everyone said, I think if we all kind of work like that, then we'll, we can give it the best shot that we can. Because I agree that, most claims are genuine, and we want to pay out the good claims. I think someone talked about, businesses and being stressed. And I think paying out good claims is very important. Paying good suppliers is very important, because we want this industry to continue. We want the suppliers to be there. So I think as an industry, that's very important too.
Finally, I'll come to you, Steve.
Yes, I think slightly different angle on this, perhaps. I'd say claims handlers and loss adjusters, generally speaking, are pretty well trained to look out for suspect claims. What we've been focusing on so far is just escalating that awareness that this pandemic does provide additional motive, especially where there's financial stress, and in some cases this could be devastating, this stress. So we've sought to just raise the awareness, and certainly for a number of weeks now, colleagues who have been so used to going out and seeing customers in their homes, at their business premises, have not been able to do that. And we've got, some of our folks who have had to get through digital video interviewing of customers. And the fact that we're not personally present at someone's home or business could be an opportunity for an unscrupulous policyholder to try and avoid that extra level of scrutiny you can get when somebody is there face to face. So we've been focusing on our people, hints, tips, things to do in a video interview that would be might be a little bit different than a face-to-face interview, just so that they have the awareness and they have the ability to do remotely what they would typically do on site to the best of their ability, to make sure that the unusual, and we started to see some come through already, the unusual outbuilding fires where the outbuilding is full of contents that you just wouldn't really expect to see in an outbuilding. Seen several of those already. Losses of expensive items in the 1 hour that people had available to go out and do a bit of daily exercise or go to the supermarket. Just the unusual losses that have started coming through already. And so it's all about raising awareness, keeping the communication going, sharing information, and giving colleagues hints and tips to be able to adapt for today and for the future.
Okay. Well, this is obviously a subject that we will continue watching with great interest, and I'm sure it'll be a feature of conferences, whether virtual or not, in the very near future. So again, I'd like to thank my panel of Steve, James, Scott, Fleur, Damian and Donna. Thank you very much for your time. Cheers.
Thanks,
Jonathan.
Thanks, Jonathan. Bye-bye.
As I mentioned at the start, this is part of an ongoing series, Insurance COVID Cast, brought to you by Insurance Post and Insurance Age. If you'd like to subscribe or register, then please use the tab in the banner, which is up here. Until the next episode, it's goodbye from me, and stay safe, everybody. Cheerio.